We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. I want to thank you all for giving us a minute while we took a little much needed weekend break from doing physical podcasts like this. But we had some other projects going on and needed the weekend. But we are back. We have amazing guests with us. We have Hooked Like Helen. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm still trying to recover from this road trip thing that I did, and it's all fun though.
Yeah. Well,
Good
everyone
stuff.
needs a weekend here and there.
And we love a good road trip too.
Yeah, for sure. But excited to have you all here. Before we kind of jump into everything, can you kind of introduce yourselves and give everybody names to faces and all that fun stuff?
Absolutely. So I'm Nikki,
I am John.
and we're Hooked Like Helen, and we are a alternative rock band. I like to call us sad glam, but it's just a whole hot mess of genres, right?
Yeah. From the Sandusky, Ohio area.
Sandusky, Ohio area.
Ish area.
And yeah, we like to rock and roll, and we are in our feelings a lot of the time. Very emotional music.
Well, I'm gonna get it out of the way off the top. How many Tommy Boy references can you guys make?
A lot, Tommy like wingy, that guy in a little coat. What else?
What did the guy scream that one night? Remember someone in the audience, she said something about Tommy Boy on stage, and someone in the crowd just yelled so loud. I think it was the wingy. I can't remember.
Possibly. But yeah, we do like to tell people that's our claim to fame is, the whole plot of that movie is Sandusky. So
Right. Now all you needed was it was Helen. You look like a Helen. That was from Tommy Boy. I was thinking Black Sheep for a second, but no, that was from Tommy. That was from Tommy.
There's a Helen and Tommy Boy?
No, when they're at the restaurant after he gets hit in the head by the 2x4, he asks the waitress what her name is.
Oh.
And it was Helen.
I had to watch the movie again, to be honest.
that is really actually a very cool little thing that you just picked up on right there.
Yeah.
We might have to steal that.
Honestly. Thank you.
Love it.
You see, growing up in the Midwest, Tommy Boy was like every weekend. My dad loved to watch it. So
Yes, our son just watched it with us for the first time pretty recently, and he loved it. So
fair. Nice. I love it. I love it so much. So how long have y'all been playing together?
Well, John and I met by being in the same band out in LA that was prior to the Hook Like Helen days.
So that means we've literally been playing together ever since we met.
Yeah. I mean, we were bandmates before we were husband and wife or even at all interested in each other romantically. So
I never thought of it like that.
yeah,
It's funny.
so we knew how to play music together before we knew how to be together. So that was many years ago out in Los Angeles in a band called Red Circle Underground. And then when we moved to Ohio, when we discovered that we were going to be having a little boy, because this is where John is from originally, we kind of hit the ground running with the Hook Like Helen project, but it's evolved over time. So it started as us in our home studio kind of working on music for sync, like film and television, composing music for those kind of opportunities, just because we were out here in the woods and the cornfields and we had a little baby.
That's all we could do.
That was kind of like to just kind of get our feet wet there and learn how to record ourselves. And then as the project kind of grew and as the placements in movies and stuff kind of got bigger, we realized that hey, we need to kind of go full out with this. And of course, playing live is our favorite thing. So we just kind of went from there. Over the past 2 years, we've been going pretty hard with the live stuff and having a blast.
Yeah. It's been wild.
But we've been doing music our entire life.
We're full-fledged rock band now.
Yeah.
Nice.
No.
Now, is the full band just you two as the duo, or do you have other members that kind of fill out other parts?
So
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over.
No.
Gosh, I'm so bossy.
Let's go. I want to talk about our friends.
Yeah, I do too. So it's John and I at the core of it. But we have a lot of talented friends who kind of come in and guest star and play with us.
They all have their own bands.
Yes, they have their own projects and other things they got to do. Everybody's a working musician. We got to wear a lot of hats, right? So John plays bass, I play keys and sing, and then we have different friends of ours that come in on drums and on guitar, just depending on the tour or the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's always good to kind of just be able to, it kind of gives you that flexibility of being a solo act, but also being able to tour as a full band, because it's like, oh, if Steve over here can't do it, I bet you Billy can, I'm obviously making names up, but, so it kind of gives you that flexibility to kind of do as you need to. So.
And with tour, you kind of have to have that flexibility.
Because a lot of times stuff comes up kind of at the last second, and someone might already have something going on or whatever, and you just got to roll with it. So, it's worked out pretty well. We're very lucky that we got some really cool people that we get to play with.
For sure. So, John, you said you're from Sandusky, or are you just from Ohio?
Yeah, I grew up here near Sandusky in a small little town. And then I moved out to California after high school. I went to culinary school here and then moved to LA and joined Red Circle Underground. My friend Kevin had already moved out there, so I had a close friend to go hang out with and join the band. And then about a year later, Nikki joined. And then the rest.
Nice. So did moving out to LA change your perspective of your hometown in Ohio?
No, not really. It was a big time shock though. I'm not gonna lie. And when I got out there, it was January, and I'll never forget, it was pouring down rain, like really, really hard. And everybody was freaking out, which was new to me, because here when it rains, it's not a big deal. No one cares.
It's a big deal out in LA. People don't know how to drive in it. The roads are very greasy.
Yeah. Greasy.
Extra slippery. It's very treacherous.
Yeah. So the traffic was what the traffic was. Yeah. And it was like a monsoon in LA. It was the most rain they had in all these years. And there were mudslides. We had to evacuate my buddy's house that we were at, and like all this crazy stuff on day one.
Right.
Wanted to go home.
Day one. So then finally I ended up in Hermosa Beach, and like this, everything cleared and everything worked out. But yeah, it was nuts at first.
Right. It's like you move in the first day and it's like, oh, we've already got to leave. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just how.
No,
never mind.
We had to go mandatory evacuation for mudslides in Glendale.
Well,
a house on the hill.
I'm glad you didn't decide to go back home to Ohio after day one.
Right.
No, we were good. And then I love LA now. So it was definitely a shock and oh no, what did I do at first? But then within a year, I was feeling really good now.
Nice. And then Nikki, where are you from originally?
So I'm from just north of LA by probably 40 minutes or something, in the deserts of a town called Canyon Country.
Okay.
So I grew up out there, and didn't really appreciate for the longest time how much access you have being in SoCal to like so much industry that the music industry that like other people don't really have. So I didn't even really start to like get into all of that. I'd been writing songs since I was, pop songs since I was 11 years old. But like, it wasn't until I met the guys in the band that I started to actually like go to Los Angeles and go to Hollywood and play in those clubs down there and just take advantage of the fact that there was like the music industry right there.
Yeah, for sure. LA's definitely got that, the industry there. And like now, I'm sure it's changed a little bit now with everything kind of going on there. And I feel like a lot of the industry is kind of moving to Nashville at this point.
For sure.
We spent a lot.
We do a lot in Nashville now. Most of our players are in Nashville, actually.
Nice. How far of a drive to Nashville is it? Was it like 3-4 hours?
7.5.
Okay.
We're all the way up on the lake, so it's
okay. That's right. Okay.
3-4 hours to get to Ohio, though, for sure, right?
Yeah.
To get to the border of Ohio.
Yeah. If we were in Columbus, it'd be closer to that,
Cincinnati.
But we're all up top.
I gotcha. I guess I just completely forgot where Sandusky is because
It's all good.
It's one of those things where my dad used to work in Dayton, so we'd drive from Chicago to Dayton all the time.
Yep.
And so that's about the extent of Ohio that I know. So
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, that makes
Okay.
perfect sense because Dayton is all the way at the bottom. So
yeah, right. So you guys started playing in another band. When did you kind of start the idea for, Hook Like Helen? Like, how does that kind of all start to come together?
So when we did discover that we were going to be having a baby, we were still out there in LA and we were playing hard, and we also had to come to terms very quickly with the fact that we needed to get sober. I got sober that day that I peed on that stick, and it was, positive for having a baby. Thank God for that. And, he did a quick 180 as well. And we kind of realized that, like, okay, we need to get a whole new environment too. We can't really be around all this partying and all of this other old stuff and the triggers and everything. So we had to say goodbye to the band. They weren't part of our problem, like the per se. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it was like the band wasn't the enablers in our
Yeah.
sobriety story, but we had to say goodbye to the whole scene. So we had a really awesome farewell show at the Viper Room when our son was 12 days old.
I don't remember.
And said goodbye. And then the next move was just Ohio. So our son was 5 weeks old when we got in the car, and he was 6 weeks old by the time we landed in Ohio with all of our stuff just like in the Trailblazer. And at that same time, John's uncle, Ben, he had been a sound engineer up in Seattle, and he passed away, and he ended up like willing us his small home studio setup, which was just an M box with Pro Tools and 2 monitor speakers. So that came into our home in our new place in Ohio, along with our baby and the rest of our stuff. The old band was over, and we were like, okay, we're just going to hit the ground running. And like Hook Like Helen was already a name that we had decided on, like in the car on the way to Ohio.
Mentally for me, I had to keep going because like when you leave Ohio and then you go out to LA, like to music, you know what I mean? I wasn't really ready to give up on music at that time.
Just because we had to change some things,
So I needed to not feel like this was giving up on music. So we just like made it a point, or I did. And I know she needed it too, to just like start immediately, like on day one. From day one, all this evolution, I guess, whatever you want to say, till now. It's nuts.
Right. Hey, you know what though? At least you were aware to know that like music is your passion, it is your love, and to leave LA doesn't mean you're leaving the music industry. It just means LA was going to kill you, or like it was destroy. LA was going to destroy you. That sounds better.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
I like that.
Sounds like the next song.
Well, it's but yeah, so like you were kind of aware and you had the awakening moment. It was like, okay, we need to change things, but you still knew like music needed to be there. That's really amazing story. So
thank you. And you don't have to be in LA anymore to do it.
Right.
It's, sometimes it helps to be near a major city like LA or Nashville, but like you don't have to be. So for else who feels that.
So how long have you been back in Ohio now?
So I just realized that it is going to be 12 years in June. So I really feel like in Ohioan now, for sure.
She is. She reminded me of the Midwest in LA. I hadn't told her that.
Yeah, some people did tell me that. I don't know. I'm going to take it as a compliment.
Yeah, it is. You should.
Thank you.
Midwest is the term Midwest though has never made any sense to me, but that's a whole
it doesn't like it doesn't on the map, does it?
That just means you're nice.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you guys have been making music as Hook Like Helen for 12 years then, roughly?
Yes. Yeah. Even though it's been a whole evolution. And like I said, we haven't really been like the full out going hard with touring and everything. That's just been probably the past several years. But we put our first EP out in 2017.
Okay. Nice.
Like 9 tracks.
Nice. And it took you were up until then, you were just kind of like writing and just kind of prepping for that moment, or?
Yep. Yep.
Honestly, learning how to self-record.
Yep.
Fair.
And doing like the film and TV stuff, you know,
Fair.
and
Yeah.
kind of and experimenting in genres because of that, because you're kind of doing what's being asked of you or like what's in demand at the moment and just kind of figuring things out and like finding out what our true, like what the most authentic sound was for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Let's talk about the sync placement and stuff, because I think that is such a cool thing out right now, like from bands and musicians right now, because there is so much content being created that everybody needs music, and
Yeah.
if they can afford it, they want their own like original stuff. So I feel like sync placement is like a booming industry that not a lot of musicians know about or even comprehend. Like, hey,
Right.
I could have a song on TV or in a movie, because it's like Hallmark releases 20 movies a month, like brand new out the box. So,
Yeah. Yes.
um, so how did you guys get introduced to that? Was that something that you learned about in LA, or was that something that you kind of found out?
It was, we did not ever really touch any of that stuff while we were in LA. We were just in that hamster wheel of like, we're gonna play on the Sunset Strip on the weekend so that we can pay for the rehearsal space during the week, so that we can rehearse during the week, so that we can play on the Sunset Strip on the weekend. Like it, so we were just doing that, which was fun.
And we were working in restaurants and
Yes, and working in restaurants and tired as hell.
The sync thing started with about a bazillion cold emails.
Yeah.
From her and her first sync partner, Isha
Erskine, who's a guy that we've collabed with on a bunch of different stuff. He's really cool. He's actually in like Northern California in a place called Sebastopol, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, he's going hard and he's doing.
Yeah, so he's like really, we kind of ended up, we still work together actually on a bunch of different things randomly here and there, but he ended up focusing even harder on the sync stuff, and we just kind of did the whole like,
we're a band now.
we're a band. But it was just us collabing remotely from our home studios and then cold emailing like all these publishers and all these sync agents and stuff, and just working our butts off. I mean, we would waking up in the middle of the night to like sign a contract and get it sent over to those guys. And
Isha had it in his head, and I don't think he'll mind me saying if he hears this, but he knew that he was going to work for at least a year straight, probably before he ever saw a dime. But he knew it was going to come, and he put his head down and he just did it.
Nice.
And it's working out for him. He's been working. I mean, gosh, that was.
No, we've been doing this for over 10 years.
He's been doing it a long time.
And then like we also ended up with one of our really cool placements just came about because we uploaded an iPhone video of me singing and playing our song to like a little free contest on Facebook. And it ended up catching the attention of the director of the film. And
indie.com.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, but then they were like, oh, we want to put this Song of Yours Liar in the sequel to our dance film, and et cetera, et cetera. So like that was like completely separate from the other sync, you know. So it's just like it all just, you just keep working and you just keep trying opportunities and you just do as much as you can, and you'll never know what will lead to what.
Yeah. Take 100 no's before you get one yes. You know, it's just the way it's going to go. It's just like the studio. And when we got that, like we started from the very bottom of really not knowing anything and just working and working and working until we got to where we are.
Yeah. And we have, you know, more to do always. You know,
I love it. First off, I miss those little offshoot websites where they were always running some kind of contest. I remember when I was first getting my start in like video production, there was this website that called doyouknowwhoiam.com.
I like that.
And it was basically, they had 3 different categories. It was either video, audio or music, or like writing or something like that. And if you won the month, you got funding for a project.
Wow.
It wasn't like big funding. It was like maybe a couple $100, but it like,
that's awesome.
you know,
anything helps, man.
Yeah. And so like, I just remember like a lot of the music was like my friends that I knew, and it was just like, oh, hey, I won this. And then they'd get like placed somewhere, and like, so I just miss those little offshoot websites. That was always doing some kind of hustle. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think
opportunities.
The prize that we won, it even said that like there was no guarantee of getting the song in the movie. I think we won a opportunity to maybe get the song.
Well, to just go out and have a day recording at what is it? Culver Studio City Sound.
Studio City,
which was a real cool recording studio out there in Studio City. So that was the prize, and then that's where we met the director. And then
then they ended up using it from there.
Yeah, they ended up kind of writing a little scene around the movie and having a dance sequence with ballerinas and all of that. So
I love it. I love that so much. When you guys were first starting to do like the sync placement, were you sending like just cold emailing out songs that you've already written, or were you just like, hey, we want to write songs specifically for this project?
we started with stuff that was already done because we had kind of like taken some little online courses and things like that about what should you do, and getting lists of contacts and things that were like okay to send to. And it was basically like when you're first starting out with this stuff, a lot of times it's going to be like a music library or a publisher that just signs up a bunch of your stuff and then they kind of pitch it out, and so you're going to just sign the contract and then just kind of wait and see, and you get the royalties, so it was like easier to just be like, hey, here's an EP with like 5 pop songs with female vocals or whatever.
Do you want it?
Yeah. And like, is this something that you think you can pitch to like the projects and like to the supervisors that you're currently working with? And, you get a lot of just radio silence because a lot of people already have their connections and already relationships, and it's really hard to get in there, but once you do, then they'll come to you later and they'll say, okay, well, now we're kind of looking for something like this. Like, can you help us out with that? Or do you have something? And kind of snowballs from there. But it's just that initial, like, just don't give up, just because you're not hearing a bunch of yeses.
Her and Isha did a pop thing, and then I just want to come to find out she's also really good at doing cue music,
like just instrumentals.
They asked her for like some cue music, like instrumentals, mood stuff. I had no idea she could even do it.
I didn't either.
Like brilliant at it.
Thank you.
Just ended up being really, really good at it.
Yeah. So I kind of moved on to having the opportunity to do some custom work that was just all instrumental for a documentary series that was on Netflix that kind of went viral during 2020 called Cheer.
Okay.
And that was really cool because the scenes were already shot and they were already edited. And then you have like, the people working on the production kind of giving you just like a general idea of like what they're going for mood wise, like what they want. And then you kind of have to write it and like fit it in to fit the visual. And it was cool because like as a perfectionist, when you're working on deadlines, you don't have the opportunity to start getting in your head and ruining it. It's like you've got 6 hours. So it's just like, get it done. And then to just have those parameters of like, well, it has to be 2 minutes long. It has to spike at this point because that's when the person does this. And then it's got to go here and it has to have this vibe. And it's just like really fun and just really, really, what's the word? Rewarding to get to like have it be a part of something bigger,
Yeah, for sure. When you said a series that went viral on Netflix, I was waiting for you to say Tiger King.
No, that was the only more viral show I think ever.
Once you said Cheer, I was like, oh, I remember seeing the ads for it. I never watched it, but I remember seeing the ads for it because
it was totally good. It was totally good
because it was about competitive cheerleading, right?
Yes,
in Texas. What city in Texas?
Houston, or no?
There, but it was a really small town.
Navarro.
Yeah. Okay,
that was their school, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where it is.
Gotcha. Cool. That's awesome. Wow. That just kind of blew my mind. So then you said 2017 is when you released your first EP, but you're still kind of doing the sync placement still, correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
He always wanted to be a band.
Right.
And that was the goal of that EP, honestly, was to get it a great publishing deal.
Yeah, which we got at a publishing deal. We can leave it at that.
Yeah, of course.
We just didn't know if it was going to be feasible for us as parents living in Ohio to be able to continue the dream of full band, even though music's in our blood. So we were never going to stop doing music. So we've just been like really, really, we're just so thankful that just through the hard work and through just continuing on and pressing on that we are able to be the band that we wanted to.
So to be in Ohio in the middle of nowhere, what better way to get yourself out there than to get a publisher to pick up your EP and to hopefully get one of your songs in a big piece of media, you know, and you get the exposure, and then maybe you can actually do it, which is like kind of what we're doing. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it. And then you released a album last year, correctly?
Yes, 2024. October 4th.
Was that last
Promise
year?
Meal Run, yes.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, I know.
It feels so like this
I feel
year.
like it just happened.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're no more, so.
Yeah. Hey, you know what though? For the last 3 months at work, or last 2 months at work, I've been still putting 2024 on all these papers they have to have me sign, and they'll come back and be like, hey, you got to redate this. This is wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, it's not 2024 anymore. And they have to do it like every day. It's almost embarrassing at this point.
You're straight. It's hard to get out of the habit.
It is.
Right. And it's like by the time the 2025 ends, I'll finally be in the habit, and then we're going to have to break it again. So,
Everyone's a year behind, man.
Yep.
Right. Well, and I feel like as fast as 2024 went, it felt like it took forever.
Right. Yeah. No, it did. I kind of mentally went to 2025 like by September.
Yeah.
So
Time's been weird lately.
yeah.
The concept, it's a weird situation we're in. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
No, it is.
I know even our son can feel it at 11 years old.
Nice.
Go.
Oh, so where you kind of at creatively right now? Are you writing, more focused on live shows? Where are you kind of at right now?
So it's kind of a little bit of all of it, which makes it very chaotic. We have that project we've been working on that the date is coming up for it on the 13th. And then we have another show on the 15th at the House of Blues in San Diego. But so we've been very hyper focused on preparing for the event at San Diego State University and just getting all of everything together for the mental health Q&A and all of that stuff. But then we are also in the middle of recording a new 5-song EP, doing it remotely with Kay Thrash, our producer, who's friggin' awesome. And we've also been shooting music videos, and we're in the middle of editing one of those and just like doing all of that. So like the song writing at this moment, I have not had a time, but we have like so many backed up right now that I'm just like, okay, whenever we need more songs, just give me 2 weeks locked up and I'll get another one going.
Yeah. Perfect. So you can kind of control your creativity. Like you don't necessarily feel like you have to like always be writing to kind of keep your mind from getting bogged up.
No, sometimes I feel like a break is good because I feel like it builds up like that kind of pressure, you know what I mean? And then that way everything, you're not straining or forcing anything. Like you have to go through experiences in order to have the true inspiration. I feel like for me anyway, like I have to go out there and have some bad things happen to me or whatever, you know what I mean? Or see things or feel things in order to have something new to write about, you know? I feel sometimes like that's why a lot of bands will have like a really, really great first album. Then their sophomore album will just maybe not be so good because I feel like they just went through, it was their whole life leading up to that first album.
They already wrote about all their stuff.
And then the rest, you know, they had just like a year of basically just getting, you know, showered upon with gifts and like living the high life, going on a world tour or whatever. And then they go in the studio and everybody tells them it's great, you know, but it wasn't any life lived.
Yeah.
I never said that before.
I've thought it.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up because I 100% agree. Like that first album is like your entire life built up into one moment. And then when it comes time for that second album, it could be one of two things. You try and recreate the first album and everybody's like, nope, we've already heard all this. We want something new. Or you go so far right where you try and write about I'm jet flying, limousine riding, you know, like all that fun stuff. And it's like, no, we don't relate to that. We don't want that either. And it's like, you just got to find out what's real for you. And I think a lot of musicians on their second album kind of might miss that from time to time.
Right. And I'm sure there's a lot of pressure too when you have had big success like that, because our successes have been very humble. As an indie band, we feel things that we're proud of, but it's not the same as having some massive commercial success. They probably do get in their heads, and then they've got the label or whatever telling them what they think, and probably just mess it all up.
Don't get me started with record labels. Like I've got an opinion and I will speak my mind, but not tonight.
Sure. Cool. Same.
But not tonight. We're not doing it.
Cool.
I've already gotten myself in trouble enough this weekend. I'm good. So.
Right.
I'm good too. Love it.
Awesome. Oh, so you said you're playing at the House of Blues in San Diego. I'm guessing that's on San Diego State.
Yes. So that is, I'm not sure. It's just in downtown San Diego, the house.
Yeah, I can't remember the street.
So that is going to be on the 15th, which is Saturday. And we are in support of In the End, which is a really, really awesome Linkin Park tribute band. So we're super pumped because we've played the House of Blues in other cities before. But I personally had not played the main stage yet. So I'm really excited. And we haven't played San Diego. So that is going to be sick. We have like some fans coming from San Francisco, from Washington, like from up north, and it's just going to be a whole family reunion, and that is going to be a blast. And then the San Diego State University thing is on the 13th.
Gotcha.
Just 2 days prior, so it'll be a whole weekend of insanity.
And reliving the high life out in California, Southern California. So
although supposedly it's going to be raining.
Ooh,
again.
Really?
That's good. Southern California needs its rain.
It does. It very much does.
Now
so
we're there in our gear.
Yeah.
Right.
It won't rain.
I got you. I was telling my dad the other day, I was like, the only chance I'd ever move out to California is if I went to San Diego. Like San Diego seems like I know it's got its own problems, but San Diego just seems like a chill area to be in general.
Yeah, I have one of my best friends lives there, and it's like the traffic situation is not what it is in LA, and the food is really, really good, and it just has that laid back,
The
beach
food
vibe.
is so good everywhere out there.
Yeah.
That's true, but good food and no traffic.
Right.
And beach.
Right. I found out though, so there's a music festival that my buddy puts on down here in Central Texas, out between Austin and San Antonio, and they do it at this campground. And every year I go, I eat. They do like breakfast tacos or whatever. And come to find out, this year they were different, and I couldn't figure out what was different about them. Come to find out, the guy was from LA and he was making California style breakfast tacos. Oh. I was like, dang it. Now I have to admit I like something from LA. I don't know.
What was that? Onions and cilantro?
No, it was instead of using hash browns, he put French fries on them.
All right.
So
that's a good choice.
Yeah, and I mean, it was seasoned a little bit differently, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'm from California. I just made them like how we used to make them back home." And I'm like,
"Well, here's what I think. I think he's actually from Pittsburgh because French fries.
They do put French fries
on everything. Is a Pittsburgh thing. So maybe he was just confused.
I don't know. Well, they just from Pittsburgh. I don't know.
Usually LA's got good food. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. But Texas got good food, so I'm happy here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got the barbecue.
Oh, yeah. We were in Dallas. I had the most amazing tuna tartare tacos, actually, at a venue that we played. And for the whole tour, that stood out as being one of the best meals. It was right there.
Yeah.
Are you near Dallas or Austin?
I live exactly right in between them.
Cool.
Like literally, you could not pinpoint a more central location.
Wow.
Nice. Okay, cool. Because I'm a little lost in my geography of
Yes.
So I live in Waco. That's literally halfway between Dallas and Austin. When you go to Austin from Dallas, you're going to jump on 35, and yeah, I'm literally right there. So
nice.
Yeah, it's actually we did a show, a live podcast thing on Sunday, and we went to this place down in south of Austin, and I had their country fried steak, which, man, that was a life change. Like, I like country fried steak, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but this thing was like a life changing moment. I was like,
Wow.
I'm gonna drive 2 hours every Sunday just to come eat this thing. So
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorites for
yeah.
yes. After we did like a really long video shoot for like
Mhm.
15 hours of just like no time to even stop and eat or anything. And the
Yeah.
next morning we went to a little diner and that's what I got. It was a Star Diner. Shout out to the Star Diner. And it was so good. So I'm gonna have to try your place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, luckily you weren't in LA for that 15-hour shoot, or otherwise the union might have
Oh my gosh.
had a fit about it.
Yeah. No, we got no rules up here.
Fair. Fair. So how did you guys kind of get into doing your own music video? Did one of you know how to do like video production before, or do you just hire somebody out and they do it?
Well, having worked in the indie scene as long as we have made friends and we have made talented friends. So one of the guys, I mean, we've made videos with all kinds of different people in different ways.
We got lucky to have the experience of Liar in Bucharest, Romania with
that
that
was the
music
one with
video.
the big sync.
So that was big production and fancy and cool like it looks.
Yeah.
And then everything since then's been indie.
And, you know, we were doing some stuff ourselves where we were filming each other with the iPhone and editing that together. But on this past EP, we worked with our friend Josh Loney, and we met him through friends in LA when we were all there. Well, we met him through the friends that we met in LA, but we didn't meet him until we started messing around in Nashville, because that's where he lives now. But he comes up, he's from Michigan, so he'll like come up and we'll shoot some videos and then he'll go see his family or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we've just worked together on that stuff, and just, you know, it's cool because out here in Ohio, there's all these cool locations that are not
You don't
already
gotta pay for them.
yeah, they're not out here trying to charge you and get licenses and all of this permits and everything. They're just like, oh, that sounds cool, you know, and we can just make it happen and just totally style do it.
Okay. That's one reason why I never took my independent filmmaking out to LA, because my buddy moved out there and he's doing really well in the industry and all that stuff. And he's like, yep, you set down a camera with a tripod on any street in LA and they're coming after you for their money. And I'm like, I'm good. Sweet. No.
So, I mean, like our Promise Meal Run video, which was our most recent video, and it's already got like over 700,000 views, which is insane.
Nice. Yeah.
We shot it at a motel that is just like 5 minutes from our house. The owner was so cool. We told him what we were gonna do, and he was like, "Oh, heck yeah!" And he's like, "Do you want me to like do this, or do you want any of these?" And he has like this really cool vibe with all these skeletons and stuff all over the place. I don't know why.
He was a great guy. Helped us
But
out.
he was just like, so he was just super into it. He was just really happy to have us there making our art, you know?
Right. That's what I love about a lot of these away from the industry places. They're just like, oh, you mean you guys want to do something in my facility or whatever? And I mean, every once in a while you get the outliers, right? That are like, no, don't do that here. But for the most part, as long as it's like a mom and pop like place where it's like locally owned and ran, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be cool with it.
Yes. Yeah. We only experienced actually some of the people that were staying at the motel, some of the guests in the evening, because we had one last shot to do where we had one of those things hanging outside of the car to get the camera shot of like me driving, right? Which we ended up cutting. We didn't even end up using it in the video, but
it's annoying.
But we spent like, you know, 2 hours trying to get this shot, driving around the motel in the dark. Like some of the guests up there on the balcony were starting to go, what's happening here? You know, like, are we going to be in this or whatever?
That did. Now that I think about it, we probably looked real shady.
Yeah, just circled out with this thing.
Like,
but like the motel manager came out and he said, hey, the owner already cleared this. They're good. And we didn't have any people in the video, you know, like we weren't shooting that. So they were like, oh, okay. But that was people with their privacy, you know, the Midwestern privacy.
Right. When I was living out in Roswell, we did a short film. I lived in Roswell, New Mexico for about 4 years. And I was shooting a short film at my apartment complex. I was like, well, we got to get this outside shot. And so I we started setting up this thing outside in like the park. It was like a center parking lot in the apartment complex I was living in. And by the time we got halfway through it, everybody in the apartment complex was standing out on the deck, just kind of watching what we were doing. It felt like we were gladiators in the Coliseum or something. And it was just like, you don't have to stand there. We're going to be done in about 4 minutes anyways. And so, yeah, it was a really weird experience, but
Oh, for sure.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
it is, it is what it is. So you got two pretty cool shows coming up here at the end, or not end of the month, mid-month, right?
Week or something. I don't even know.
Right.
10
Yeah.
days.
13th.
Yes, the 13th and the 15th.
Yep.
The 13th is only for students, but the 15th is open to the public. So
Yeah.
Yes. And are you leaving? I'm guessing you'll probably leave this weekend and head out there and spend a little bit more time out there, or?
we're going to head out on Monday because we are bringing our son with us and he's going to miss some school, but it's an educational experience. We're going to a university. So we're going to leave Monday and have that whole week and then fly back out the following Tuesday. So
Right. Just tell the school that your son's going to visit a college.
Exactly.
I mean, I tried
Real
to tell them
early.
that.
Real early.
They're pretty cold about it. Our community is like super supportive, honestly, of our begins with the band, and we are so thankful for that.
They are. We went from like weirdos that no one knew to now we're friends with everybody. So it's pretty
Yes. Isn't it amazing when that transition kind of happens where it's like, oh, we've been here for 7 years, but nobody knows who we are. And then like there's that one moment and it's like, oh, now all of a sudden you're just like cool and socially accepted.
We are so thankful.
It's
to
happened.
be socially
It's
accepted.
happened a couple of times in my life. Come to think of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where it's been a real long time.
It's like, oh, he's not that weird. Like,
Yeah.
I love it.
yeah, actually.
Sweet. Back to the Tommy Boy references we go. No, I'm kidding. We're back. So kind of looking forward. You guys obviously got the shows coming up here in just little over a week. What's kind of the plan as we head into 2025 or head into the rest of 2025? Are you booked out pretty consistently with shows, or are you kind of just right now? Are you just kind of like figuring it out still?
We're still kind of figuring it out just because we are kind of we're in the middle of our next EP already.
Yeah.
We're kind of just, flying by the seat of our pants. Like we've got a really cool show coming up June 21st in Nashville. So that'll be really fun. We're going to play with another artist that we really like called Anastasia Elliott. And then we might book a couple shows around that. We've got something in Cleveland in August, but then we also might end up on a tour. We don't know.
Yeah.
We have two songs done, a music video almost done.
And we have to have time to like make all the videos because that's just kind of a big part of our project is just visuals for us, know. So we gotta
once we're through the San Diego trip, we'll be able to think more and
plan stuff
iron
out.
It all out. Yeah, this concert and combo is the first of its kind, and we're really trying to nail it. And we only have more, and we're making it a full tour. We're attempting to
have more of these dates at different colleges.
Yeah,
so
Nice.
be the first of
it's gonna be
many.
the first of many. So we just want to nail it, and it's something we've never done, but we're prepared. So once that's over, then we'll clear our heads and figure it out.
And then be really, really overwhelmed again.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that every creative though? Like you get this finish line and then it either goes really well or it doesn't. And then it's like, okay, here's the next finish line and nothing ever really changes. So
Yep. And the thing is that it's cool if it goes well, it's whatever. If it doesn't change what happens next. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep moving, making it work,
Yeah, for sure. You got to keep willing to find out why it or look at it scientifically or objectively and be like, okay, this is why it didn't work. How can we change it so it will work?
Yes.
And then like it's that adaptation that makes something great.
Right. Absolutely. And that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've been a 10-year process.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But I don't want to keep you here too much longer. If anybody wants to check out your music, find you on social media, shows, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you online?
We have hookedlikehelen.com, and from there you can get tour dates, you can watch the videos, you'll find all of our social links. Instagram's our favorite of the social medias, but we're on all of them. Facebook.
Bands in town.
Yes.
You sign up for
bands in town.
We're coming to town.
That is the best way. We don't want people to not realize we were in their town. That happened on our second tour.
Bands in town is
That was really sad. They're like, oh no. So that's a really good way to keep track of us. But yeah, we're on the internet everywhere. So, Spotify, all that stuff.
For sure. I love it. Bands in Town is a savior for me. It tells me like, hey, so-and-so's in town. You might want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, good idea.
A little tap on the shoulder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Except every once in a while, because I travel so much, I'll change my bands in town, area, like where I'm at, just so, like, if I'm going, like, let's say I'm going to like Tucson or something, I'll be like, oh, let's see I'll be there for 4 days. Let's see who's going to be in town. And then I'll forget to change it back when I get back home. And then I'll start getting alerts that so-and-so's in town. And I'm like, really? Where's the Rico's Pizza Theater? It's like, I don't know where that's at. Oh, this is still in Tucson. Okay, well, I guess put my excitement away for a little bit,
But they need to start up there.
Yeah, it should just track you.
Right?
Like everything else.
Yeah, that's fair. But once again, I do really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. Thanks for being flexible. The weather was a little like, so.
You get that.
We know how to do that for sure.
Right.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Live and Amplified's Indie Fusion podcast. If you'd like to support anything Live and Amplified does, please follow us on all of our social media platforms at Live, the letter N, Amplified. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, any of them, all of them, at Live, the letter N, Amplified. And if you would like to buy any official Live and Amplified merch, you can do so at our merch shop, link in the description below. Once again, thank you all. Have a great day.